given just how high profile October 7th has been, we don't need to spend that much time today talking about exactly what happened on October 7th, but a lot has happened since, and there are lots of debates about what has happened since. One of the big ones, even though for some people it's a very much an open and closed issue, is whether or not genocide has been and is being committed.
Right.
And so some of the guests that I've spoken to on the podcast do not think that genocide is being committed, and they think it's appalling to suggest that it is. So I'm wondering how you evaluate the claim of genocide.
Well, I mean, it's a legal term. I'm not a lawyer. I think you can look at what's happened. Several things have happened. Firstly, Israel tried to push the population out of the Gaza Strip, and it got Tony Blinken to run around as its errand boy to Egypt, to Jordan, and Saudi Arabia in the first weeks of the war to get them to accept people that Israel would drive out of the Gaza Strip. These governments refused, but that was the intention. So expelling population might or might not fall into the definition of genocide, but all are part of if I remember the language of the Genocide Convention, it talks about doing certain things to all or part of a population. Second thing that happened was that Israel declared that it would cut off food, water, electricity, fuel, medical supplies, anything to the Gaza Strip, which meant that they were, in effect, threatening to and ended up doing something that led to almost starvation situation. The third thing they did was to attack infrastructure. And this has nothing to do with human shields, which is the excuse for killing large numbers of people. Oh, there was a Hamas person here, we'll kill 800 or 200 or 50 people in order to kill this person. They destroyed the water purification plants. They destroyed the sewage system, the sewage plants, the sewage treatment plants. They destroyed the electrical grid. They destroyed the internet. They prevented food and water from coming in, or electricity from coming in from Israel. This led to what you see in the Gaza Strip, which is famine, which is people dying of diseases, the spread of things like polio and all kinds of other diseases. Is this genocidal? I mean, if you go back and look at what happened to the Herero and the Nama, where maybe 100,000 people die of starvation as a result of what the German occupation of Southwest Africa does from 1904 to 1907, that's generally considered a genocide. What happens to the Armenians in 1915? And remember, the Genocide Convention is adopted in 1948. So we're taking those standards and looking backwards. But what happened, the Armenian genocide is generally, by most historians, considered a genocide. They didn't actually kill all of those people. In most cases, they starved them to death, or they let them die of thirst in the desert. They drove them from eastern Anatolia into the desert. Well, in a sense, you can argue they haven't killed all the people of Gaza. They've only killed maybe 40, 50,000. Well, 42,000, and undoubtedly more under the ruins, and more will probably die in the years to come of diseases, of untreated wounds, and other things. Is that genocide? I would leave it to a lawyer. I would have no trouble calling it genocide myself. I think you have statements by Israeli leaders from Netanyahu on down, the Minister of Defense, Gallant, the Prime Minister, generals, and others, who've said things that clearly indicate genocidal intent. And you have the slaughter of so many civilians. Of the total number of people we know to be dead, over 41,000 right now, 41,700 as we speak. Overwhelming majority of these people are civilians. Now, there is a provision of international humanitarian law that for military objectives, for military actions, to be legal, they have to be proportional and they have to be discriminate. And those actions have not been proportional or discriminate. If you kill 100 people in order to kill a Hamas leader, this is neither proportional nor discriminate. And they've done this again and again and again and again and again. This claim of human shields is a violation of international humanitarian law. These are at the very least war crimes without any possible, there are Israeli lawyers who will defend it. And they're distorting in a grotesque manner international law, in my opinion. I'm not a lawyer, but that seems pretty clear to me.